Moving from the United States to Portugal is easier than moving to most other countries, but it can still be hard. It can still be very stressful. And if you're moving with a pet, it's even harder and it's even more stressful. My name is Howie. This is Positively Portugal. Let's get into it. So this topic is going to be the heart of the matter for this video. We're going to talk about the process or the requirements of moving to Portugal, or I guess you could say the same for any country with a pet, in my case, a cat. We are also going to talk about where I am in the process of moving to Portugal. And we're going to start the video with Portugal's first game in Euro 2024 yesterday. Now, it was a come-from-behind victory against the Czech Republic, 2-1. Apparently, the Czech Republic is now going by the name of Czechia. I think I missed the memo or the press release about that. That's kind of the first I've heard of it. And the same thing is going on with Turkey, who are now Turkia or Turkia. However that's pronounced, I'm not exactly sure. But as far as the game goes, Portugal dominated possession, especially in the first half. And although they didn't score in the first half, they looked very dangerous, and they also looked very calm and collected, and there wasn't really a worry in the world. Early in the second half, Czechia got a goal, and, Portugal still kept pretty calm, and they eventually tied the game on an own goal from Czechia. And then, even as it went into stoppage time, I kind of got the feeling Portugal would pull it off. Conceição from Porto came into the game, and I think less than 2 minutes later, he got the game winner. It was in the second minute of stoppage time. I at least felt that it was coming. I don't know what the consensus of others was, but I felt that they were going to pull it off at the end. They really needed to, because, look, a game against Czechia or the Czech Republic, you need to come away with a win in this kind of a format with the group stage where you only play 3 games. The next game is against Turkey, and then the game after that is going to be against Georgia. And Turkey is better than Czechia, but I think that the style of the game will be more favorable for Portugal. With Czechia, it was very defensive. Czechia knew that they didn't really have much firepower, so, there were 11 Czechs in the box. See what I did there? You see what I did? 11 Czechs in the box. But, there's some bad things going on here. As much as I liked Portugal's performance, even though there weren't a ton of goals, we got to talk about some elephants in the room here. Number 1, Bernardo Silva. I mean, this guy is not just out of form, but he looks like he didn't start playing football until last week. What kind of a performance was that? It was absolutely dreadful. You could have had basically anyone else from the bench do what he did and do it better. The other thing we got to talk about is Bruno Fernandes. Bruno is a player who I actually really like. I think he's great at Manchester United. I think he's even better for Portugal. And when he was at Sporting, I thought the last year he was there, I thought he was the best player in the Portuguese league. I'm actually a really big fan of Bruno. But it seems to me that there's some kind of a disconnect or maybe even a personal issue between Bruno and Cristiano Ronaldo. And what I got to say about that is, as much as I like Bruno, I'm a big fan of his, bro, you are not Cristiano Ronaldo. You are never going to be Cristiano Ronaldo. But that's not a bad thing, because Cristiano Ronaldo is the best player of all time. There's never going to be another Cristiano Ronaldo. So if you find yourself in a position where you need to pass the ball to Cristiano, who has the best chance of scoring, my man, you got to do it. There's no not passing to Cristiano Ronaldo. And that's not just you, Bruno. You are the most talented player on the team outside of Ronaldo. But if Ronaldo has a better chance of scoring, you damn well better pass him the ball. I'm not all that concerned about Bruno. It's very rare that he's had 2 consecutive bad performances for Portugal. So I think you're really going to see a different Bruno against Turkey. It's going to be a different Bruno with a more wide open style of play. I don't think it's going to be a defensive struggle the way it was against Czechia. The one thing that I absolutely loved, is that Roberto Martinez did not put João Felix into the game. And I got to say, I believe personally, João Felix is the worst player in the world. And when I say that, I do not mean that he is without talent. That's not what I am saying at all. I think he's an extremely talented individual. But when I say that João Felix is the worst player in the world, what I mean is it has been a very long time since a player came around with so much potential and has failed to live up to any of it. And it's not all his fault. João Felix ended up going from Benfica, where he was just brilliant. I mean, brilliant is an understatement. That season that he spent with the first team of Benfica, you're not going to find seasons like that very often. Then he went to not only a horrible situation in Atletico Madrid, but he actually went to the worst possible situation for him. There is no reason for a player with that kind of offensive potential to go to Atletico Madrid. And there's not a single person who follows football who thought that this was a good idea. This is a kid who was not getting any kind of good guidance. He had no good advisors. And he made the worst possible decision for his career. He's had 2 loan spells, one to Chelsea, one to Barcelona. Hasn't really worked out. He's had flashes at Barcelona, few and far between, however. And he's been a little better for Portugal. You know, when I say he's the worst player in the world, what I'm primarily saying is, it's not just a matter of him missing out on his potential, but I'm talking basically about your club performances, your club career. He's been somewhat halfway decent for Portugal, but overall, no. I don't even think he should be on the team, to be honest with you. And I guess I'm not alone in starting to see these things now, because I was very surprised that he did not get any game time yesterday. And it's not just a matter of making the mistake of going to Atletico Madrid. It was that he was insistent on staying there until it came about that he had a chance to go to Barcelona. I'm not too sure he actually wanted to go to Chelsea when that loan deal happened. Once he got to Chelsea, it seemed that he enjoyed himself there. He just wasn't any good. So he went back to Atletico, and then he got loaned out to Barcelona. And again, he had a couple of flashes. He ended up scoring 7 goals in 30 appearances for them. But in big games, the guy was nowhere to be found. And that's one thing about Felix's career. He's had 11 games against Real Madrid now. 0 wins, 2 draws, 9 losses, 0 goals, 0 assists. And again, I'm just talking about matter of potential and not living up to it. That's why I say João Felix is the worst player in the world. So Saturday, the next game for Portugal is against Turkey. And I think everyone is going to play a lot better, even though Turkey is better than Czechia. And I think we're going to have a reason to celebrate Saturday when Portugal will probably advance to the next round. Okay, so where am I in the process of moving to Portugal? It's always a complicated answer, but I guess the simplest way to say it is I am where I'm supposed to be. My move date is December 1st. As you know, I have my NIF, I have my Portuguese bank account. Now I have my fingerprints. The next few steps in the process kind of happen at around the same time. I have to schedule an appointment with the Portuguese VFS. That needs to be in the first week of September. They're up to August 30th now, which is a Friday. Obviously the last possible date in the month of August. So I imagine that I'm going to be able to book that appointment anytime between, say, tomorrow and July 1st. I have been checking every day. Nothing has opened up for September. That's why I'm kind of thinking maybe they don't open up 2 months in advance until, I don't even know how to say this, but, they're not going to open up September until July starts. So who knows? But I'll have that appointment very soon. A couple of other things that I have to do in mid-July. I need to begin the apartment search. It's a little different for me. I need to kind of arrange it so that, I'll be moving in on December 1st, but I might need to pay an extra month rent of November. I want to have that apartment secured. I am going to have to make a trip to Portugal, or at least have somebody make it for me to get the apartment ready for my cat. I need to have a litter box. I need to have litter and other sorts of things for him because, look, the cat is absolutely going to go to the bathroom whether I have a litter box or not. It's just what it is. And put yourself in that situation. If you move somewhere with no bathroom, is that going to stop you from actually going to the bathroom? The answer is no. So this whole thing is going to involve either 2 trips to Portugal for me or 1 trip when I move and, a friend or somebody taking care of some things for me before or even after I get there. It is what it is. That's going to lead into the main topic of this video, which is moving to another country with a pet. But the other thing that I have to take care of now is get my criminal record or lack thereof from the FBI. I mean, these are going to be standard processes: the apartment, the criminal record, getting the appointment. Oh, and I also have an international moving company now. In addition to that, I have a company that will work with that international mover to handle the paperwork. There's all sorts of nonsense and red tape and all sorts of garbage involved. And, I've been made aware that there is a fair amount of red tape when it comes to Portugal. Not nearly as much as there is with Spain. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I chose Portugal over Spain. But I'm not dumb enough to think that there won't be headaches involved with this. I know there are going to be headaches involved with this. I'm prepared as much as I can be. And one of the best ways that I can describe it is there's a timeline. However, this timeline, it's not just about the overall end goal. The timeline has goals in between, and they have to be done at certain times in the process. It's not one of those things where you're only focused on the final goal of moving. So it's very different from how I work. I'm used to being very early, being very prepared, and it's something that I have to get over. I have to adjust to the Portuguese way. As much as there's red tape and stuff that I don't like, that's on me. I'm not asking Portugal, whether it be the government or people or anyone, to change for me, because that's stupid. If I were to have that mentality, then I may as well just stay in the United States. So, you know what? As hard as it's going to be, as stressful as it's going to be, bring it on. I'm here for it. I'm ready. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm moving to Portugal with my cat, Charlie. This was not an option. I was not going to give him up, whether it be for adoption or to a friend or a family member. I am loyal to my cat. My cat is the most important person in my life. I have always been a cat person. I've always been a cat advocate. I'm a cat-vicate. With Charlie, it's even more so. Charlie is about 8.5 years old, and I found him on the street. I didn't even adopt him. I found him on the street. We first met when he was a tiny little kitten, about 2 months old, and he would always come and hang out by my doorstep and look for food every night for about 3 months. And I started giving him some food, and every night getting closer and closer to being inside. and then inside, and then deeper and deeper into my apartment. Well, one night I closed the door, and that was the end of Charlie living on the street. Well, Charlie didn't like it too much, and he went through a phase of about 3 months where he wouldn't go near me. Now, the little guy was smart enough to know to use the litter box. That's what impressed the hell out of me. I mean, and I guess it shouldn't have been a surprise. I had other cats in my life, and they knew from a very early age to use the litter box, but I don't know, for some reason that took me by surprise. Well, Charlie, he was born feral, but, now the little guy, he sleeps on top of me in the morning. And I found him at a time in my life where I had just moved to St. Petersburg, Florida. As you know, I'm originally from New York City. I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. Then the following year, I moved to a different apartment in Raleigh. The year after that, I moved to St. Pete. This was a time when my father had recently passed away, and it was the hardest time of my life. I was a shell of my former self. I was a shell of who I am now. I had no purpose. I had no direction. But once I had a living, breathing creature who depended on me for everything, that's what got me through the hardest times of my life. It was Charlie. It was my cat that got me through the hardest times of my life. It wasn't another person. It wasn't even my mental strength. It was my cat. And that's why he's coming with me to Portugal. I would not have it any other way. So much to the point where if I could not take Charlie with me, then I would not move to Portugal. I would, move when he was no longer with me, and I can't even think about that. I can't even fathom what that time of my life is going to be like. My cat is everything to me, and there's nothing that would change my mind about that. If I cannot take Charlie with me, I don't go anywhere. I mean, I don't mean I take him grocery shopping or anything, but in terms of moving, living somewhere, if I can't take Charlie with me, then I don't go. So what does this involve now? Okay, there's paperwork, there's medical documents, there's actually a cat visa. And thankfully I have an immigration company to help me out with that and get that for me. If you are considering moving to Portugal or Spain now, please don't do it yourself. Don't do it. It's very hard. Too hard for me, at least. I highly recommend contacting the company that I use. It's called Viv Europe. That's VIV Europe. V as in victory, I as in ice, V as in victory, Europe. They have been a godsend for me. I could not have gotten as far as I have without them, and I would not be able to finish the job without them. So I highly recommend contacting Viv Europe if you want to move to Portugal or Spain. In fact, I don't recommend moving there if you don't contact Viv Europe. So what else do I have to do? I have to contact every airline that I can think of that'll go from probably New York, where I'm going to do this from, to Lisbon. And I got to find out their dimensions, the length, width, and height of, the airline seats, the seats in front of you. Because that's where I got to put Charlie. I got to put Charlie under the seat in front of me. Charlie is not going into cargo. Charlie is not going into an overhead bin. Charlie is going to be right there with me for that trip. He's going to be in the seat underneath me. But I got to get a new carrier, and I don't know what the dimensions are for these airlines. I don't know what the best airline to do this is. I can tell you that, knowing my luck, the best airline is going to be the most expensive one by a lot. But that's okay. And you know what? If I have to end up getting a first class seat, a business class, economy plus to make this happen for, more room to put him, then so be it. I'm not going to risk my cat's health over a few dollars. It's just not going to happen. But, you think about what that's like. There's the hold times for getting through to any airline, and I got to contact a bunch of them. I'm going to have to call Delta, TAP, United, American, Lufthansa, and I'm sure there's a bunch of them that I'm not even thinking of right now. That's going to be a process of at least a day. I know that. So I think for me, that's the most stressful thing. It's not I think. I know that's the most stressful thing. I can take any kind of obstacle, and I'll overcome it. And it's okay, because at the end of the day, it's just me. But, when you think about how moving is going to upset my cat, that's a lot for me to take. It's very hard for me, actually. I wish I had the kind of money where I could just take one of these chartered private flights that are specifically meant for moving with pets. Although that's more for dogs, especially larger dogs, but I think that would have been that would have worked better for me. The only problem with that is it's like $10,000 a flight. So, unfortunately, that cannot happen. But, anybody who's an animal person, I think you kind of know what I'm going through. And just to show you, that, I'm not just a good person, not only a good person, but I'm a normal person. I'm not doing this whole thing without my cat, and I'm not going to put him in a situation where it can harm him. So that's where I am with everything. It's moving along. It's where it's supposed to be. It's still not easy. If you think about my date, December 1st, to put it into perspective, for me, 2024 only has 11 months. A year is 12 months, but for me, 2024 has 11. When you think about the move date of December 1st, from then until, say, Christmas Eve, when I'm in Portugal and it finally hits me that I'm in another country and I'm experiencing the Christmas culture of another country for the first time in my life. I've never celebrated Christmas outside of the United States. That's when it's going to hit me, and that's basically at the end of December. So I get the feeling that December 2024 is going to be pretty much a blur for me. And I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's going to be. I do know it's going to be the hardest month of my life. But I know why I'm doing this. It's for a better life. And I would not have it any other way. It's still full steam ahead moving to Portugal. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to happen. December 1st, it's almost certain. I guess there's nothing that's ever certain in life. You never know what's going to happen. But I can say I'm not re-signing my lease. So as much as you say never, I can't think of a way that this whole thing can be extended. I mean, maybe if I don't get approved for the visa, but all the pieces are in place. There is zero reason why I would not get approved for the visa. So here we go. It's going to happen. And if you like what you're watching, if you want to know more about the process of moving to Portugal, if you're into Portuguese football or anything Portugal, please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, but the most important thing, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way that you can help a YouTuber. Subscribing to a channel is free of charge. I do not want your money. Speaking of money, I do have to say my channel is monetized now. It only took me 8 months. I'm really grateful for all of you. I have over 11,000 subscribers now. And, the channel is going to continue to grow. There's going to be so many great things on this channel when I get to Portugal. But I'm going to wrap this up for now. And I want to thank you all for watching. And until next time, my name is Howie. I'll see you soon.